Well, good afternoon. It's Thursday, it's 2 p.m., and for the last time before our summer break, that means it is time for the 660 Club. My name's Jeremy Bassett. I'm CEO of CoCubed. We're a digital transformation agency based here in London. And at CoCubed, our approach to digital transformation is to connect Fortune 100 corporates with startups from around the world that have already developed innovative solutions to their digital challenges. Here's a 30-second overview of what we do. CoCubed, we're passionate about democratizing innovation, and that's exactly what 660 Club has been all about. When we launched 660 back in March, the word Corona really just meant a great beer, and buying toilet paper was by no means an Olympic sport. But at CoCubed, we love a challenge, and in the midst of all of that disruption, we wanted to disrupt ourselves and make it easier for startups and corporates to engage. That's really how 660 was born. 6 startups pitching their big idea on how they can transform an industry in just 60 minutes. And after 16 events, 96 startup pitches, and almost 1,000 members joining the club, 660 is about to hang up its hat and head off to Costa del Startup for a summer break. Oh, there's a message in the chat there from Mark. Mark's asking, but where am I going to find startup solutions to my brand challenges? Well, Mark, that is a great question and not planned it at all. We've got your back. Here we go, introducing Go Partner. This is how it works. Give us your brief. We'll find 10 startups with solutions that we think are just right for you, all in 24 hours for an amount that you can charge to your corporate card. If you like what you see, we can organize for them to pitch. And if you are interested in moving from pitch into partnership, we can facilitate a 3-hour workshop to do just that. So if you're inspired by the startups that you see here today, but you've got your own specific challenge that you'd like to tackle, then share your brief, swipe your card, and let's go partner. You'll find us in the expo hall right after this. All right, back to today, and we are going out with a bang. I'm so excited to be joined today by Hyundai, who are going to be sharing their brief on the future of mobility. Hyundai is the world's 3rd largest automotive producer and has bold ambitions when it comes to the EV market. Here to tell us more and to launch their brief for today, please welcome Anastasia, the Senior Innovation Manager at Hyundai. Anastasia, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Jeremy. How are you?
Yeah, good. Anastasia, I'm really interested in your role. So before we dive into the brief, why don't you just share a little bit of background on your role at Hyundai?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a senior manager at startup incubation team at Hyundai, and my role is to run all the accelerator-related and partnership activities in the European region and the UK. So I'm the one who develops partnerships, finds startups for accelerator programs, helps them to identify the match with the corporate, and then we develop the case and introduce it to the investment team or for strategic collaborations.
Okay, cool. Very cool. And today's all about future mobility. But before we dive into the future, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Coronavirus, how's it affecting the industry, Hyundai? What's happening from your perspective?
Well, how it is affecting, I think we will see in the coming months. Right now, everyone is getting out of the stage where the industry was paralyzed, especially I think that shared mobility was affected heavily because people were not using the car sharing and subscription services. 30% of it comes from people traveling to work, 30% people going for leisure vacations, and then just small portion of it for transportation to the airport, back and forward. So things were stopped, but interestingly, logistics and delivery helped some companies, not Hyundai, to win what they have lost during the car sharing problems. So I think it's quite interesting to see what will happen next, whether people will go back to the normal life and car sharing dream will come true again, or we will switch to something new. Too early to judge.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, what do you think it means for the next 2 to 3 years? Like, where do you see the future of the automotive industry?
Well, I think it's much easier to predict what's going to happen in 10 years or in 20 years. So from our perspective, in the long term, we're saying that less people own cars. We're saying that only 50% maybe of revenues would come from traditional automotive industry and the business model. 20% it comes from mobility as a service functions and connected cars. And interestingly, 30% of the revenues will come from urban air mobility solutions. So what comes in 2 to 3 years, I think we'll switch more into mobility and try to test what kind of new services and human-centered services can be offered to the customers. And I guess that would be a testing period for everyone.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating decade to watch the industry evolve. Obviously, you work a lot with startups, which brings things back to more the near to medium term in terms of the opportunities out there. What are the sort of things that you're looking for in the startup ecosystem?
Well, it's quite easy. We call it MECA. We always look at 4 pillars. It's mobility solutions, starting from passenger vehicles to purpose-built vehicles and autonomous electrified purpose-built vehicles. It's all about electrification and hydrogen technologies. We are interested in the startups that help us to develop the whole infrastructure around hydrogen, from the development point of view to storage systems. Different types of connectivity solutions. We have today some startups in the after sales and maintenance market. So this is definitely something interesting for all of us. And of course, everyone's favorite autonomous theme. It will be there for a while.
It will be indeed. Well, look, I think we've got a great lineup of 6 companies here that are solving some of those areas, definitely around EV, the infrastructure element, after sales, and autonomous driving. So hopefully something interesting there from a Hyundai perspective. Anastasia, you're going to be grilling the startups after each of their pitches. So we will see you shortly, but thanks for sharing your insights on the future of the industry.
Sure.
Cool. So let's do this. You've just heard from Anastasia about the brief for today. Now you're going to hear from 6 startups with their big ideas that could deliver on Hyundai's challenge and also transform the industry. This is going to be short and sweet, just 2 minutes per pitch and time for one quick question right after that. And then at 2:45, we're going to be heading over to the networking space where you'll be able to meet with today's startups, connect with other club members, and continue the conversation. Use the chat bar on your right to say hello, make comments, or ask questions. The CoCube team is there to answer anything you might need answered. But right now, it's time for our first pitch. With 68% of the world's population projected to live in cities by 2050, public transport is going to be under increasing demand. Here to keep our cities connected, please welcome Boyd from IAMOB. Boyd, welcome to the club.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy, and the team from CoCubed. As Anastasia just mentioned, traditional car ownership is being totally disrupted over years and going forward. In its place, we're seeing thousands of new types of mobility service providers entering, from micromobility and ride hailing to aggregated taxi fleets, car sharing, carpooling. We all know all those. And each of those providers has their own app in most cases. So it's creating a walled garden. It's creating great choice for consumers and a crazy amount of complexity to navigate the vast mobility marketplace and figure out how to go from A to B, whether it's in your own city or when you're traveling to a new city. IAMOB was born to solve this problem, focusing on large transport and travel companies. Instead of offering a mobility as a service solution via our own brand to an end consumer, what we do is offer the full stack solution with our own proprietary algorithms. We have a growing pan-European mobility marketplace. We do that deeply so that when users use our technology in our clients' apps, they're able to seamlessly discover, combine, book, and pay, including unlocking scooters or car sharing inside our client's app. So it's a fully seamless door-to-door experience. We have been working with recently with London Northeast Railway, LNER, with Renfe in Spain, with Skånetrafiken in Sweden. We have a project in New Zealand with Wellington, and we did a preliminary project with Ford in the US as well. We've also won several industry awards like Airtico and FIA for top mobility startup. And we've also been in some prestigious accelerators like Techstars and Wider UK, where we actually met Anastasia a few years ago. So IAMOB, we're ready to partner with all the corporates that are wanting to participate in the transformation of the mobility marketplace. Thanks.
Fantastic. Some great traction there, Boyd. I'm interested in what you're doing, but we'll save those conversations for after. So let's bring Anastasia back now, who's going to jump on with her question for you. There we go.
Yeah, good to see you, Boyd, again. Actually, if you could a little bit elaborate on how you can help OEMs to grow their revenues and expand their reach in this disruptive stage of digitalization and chat mobility, that I guess would be helpful for everyone.
Yeah, that's obviously a critical question for any business we work with. So you mentioned very clearly about how the consumer is evolving their interaction with mobility services and cars and car ownership. And I think you're right to say that there's a lot of new directions, and we don't actually know which mode will be most adopted, whether car sharing will return or not. What we allow our OEMs and other organizations to do is diversify their risk and have access to a portfolio of mobility services that they can monetize. Some of the OEMs like Ford have bought Spin, and or you have your own car sharing services. So obviously your shared mobility services can plug right in. We have a mechanism for you to even onboard car owners, like a Hyundai car owner, and support a peer-to-peer carpooling network connected to IAMOB is another monetization path. Certainly a percentage of the revenues from the different mobility services connected to IAMOB is an important thing. And I think, related to your point about how consumer behavior is evolving, we think in the future, I'm almost 50. I don't have a car and I don't have a driver's license. So if I'm like that, we know what the younger generations are doing. So how can Hyundais remain relevant and keep a brand that's going to attract and retain younger customers who don't aspire to own and operate their own car? And we think the answer to that is giving them seamless access to a whole bunch of mobility services via one app that they can travel around with. And over time, with connecting to us, you will have better data about what services are being demanded by those customers, and then decide if you want to invest in or grow your portfolio of shared mobility services that you can offer in an integrated way in your own platform.
Okay, very cool. And fantastic traction there, Boyd, but also super interesting to hear more about how you see this growing. We're going to continue these conversations in networking right after this. So now it's time for our second pitch. Here's a random fact for you. Do you know 2/3 of people under the age of 30 cannot read a map? Well, here to help them overcome the limitations of maps by creating more engaging content for customers, please welcome Sai from Skynes. Sai, welcome.
Good afternoon, guys. Thanks very much for having me today. Nice to meet Anastasia and the other people on the call. My name's Sai Brown. I'm the CEO and founder of Skynes. Before I jump into what Skynes is, quick bit about my background. I actually did a master's degree in virtual reality in the mid-1990s when both my daughters behind me said that virtual wasn't a reality then, Dad. And then since then, I've been involved in developing future technologies to be delivered ahead. So, which brings me on to Skynes. Skynes is a precise location augmented reality platform. And essentially what we're here to do is to provide that extra step to any app that has location-based services. And 95% of the world's apps at the moment are utilizing location services. As Jeremy said, 4 out of 5 people can't read maps, which is an increasing trend. And a large proportion of the rest of the country can't read maps. And this is down to culture, sat-nav, and all of these other things implementing. From that, we've developed a way that through a third-party SDK and API that could be built into Hyundai's app And that could be either the third partner apps or your own. So essentially, rather than someone looking at the phone, trying to look on a map and work out where they've parked their car, they would simply hold the phone up like this, and it will actually show you where your Hyundai is parked. Other extensions on how that'll work. A year ago, 18 months ago, we were approached by Apple, because what they really liked about our solution is that what they felt we were doing that others weren't, is we were making AR a utility, and the fact we could do it anywhere on the planet at scale. So in my example on the screen there, I've put a couple that you could work with rent guys. You could work with like the iMob guys and identify where those scooters are. You could even use this technology with Uber. So any Uber drivers who have Hyundais, people could find them a lot more easily from your dealerships right the way through to, God forbid, a car being brought down as a safety. So essentially what we're trying to do is start users on stop looking at your phone and start looking through it. Thank you.
That's great, Si. Very clear as well. Anastasia, why don't you jump on and we can kick off with this question. Oh, there we go.
Actually, very interesting fact. Could you please tell us if you have tested this before with any OEM or automotive in an automotive context?
We haven't tried it with any automotive operators, but we have tested it in a smart cities context, which we won a global smart cities award for. And we've also done it with a number of other blue chips, such as Coca-Cola, FIFA, Apple, and people like that. So we've tested the technology almost to destruction. The idea of being put in a car, it actually came from my mum when I first developed the technology 8 years ago. She wanted to find her car in a car park because she said all the car parks look the same. And they actually do have a Hyundai Tucson, which is quite ironic.
Okay, very cool. Well, thanks, Si. We will keep those conversations going on in networking, and then we'll kick off with our next brief right now. So we're going to be going to Helix. Driverless cars are no longer a thought for the future. They're here, and they're here to stay. But how can we ensure that they're safe on our roads? Well, here with a solution, please welcome James from Helix Technologies. James, welcome to the club.
Hi, and thanks very much for having me in the club. So the automotive and aerospace industries clearly share our vision of future mobility, as do the high-tech sector and eco-warriors as well. Sometime pretty soon, we're going to be handing over our keys to robots. They're going to drive us around. They're going to take us to work and take us for our leisure pursuits. Productivity is going to be optimized. Energy efficiency is increased. It's going to be a great place to live. But that's only going to happen when human safety is assured. And the safety in autonomous vehicles really starts with absolute location. That singular truth on which autonomous situational awareness will depend is going to be determined by centimeter accurate GNSS positioning. Right now, satellites are transmitting multi-frequency encoded signals. Receivers are capable of decoding and determining accuracy down to 10 centimeters. But signal integrity is critical to achieving the precision that's demanded for safe deployment of driverless cars and drones. So in our bustling cities with satellite signals bouncing off all the tall buildings, interference from crowded RF spectrums, these all threaten signal integrity. Not to mention that spectre of deliberate jamming or spoofing. And these concerns are roadblocks to the widespread rollout of autonomous vehicles. The industries, so it takes the very best in antenna technology to cut through these accuracy limiting environments. So at Helix Technologies, we've dedicated ourselves to solving these challenges. We developed a really small and compact antenna technology for GNSS receivers. It's immune to multipath or urban canyon effects. It's highly resilient to interference and jamming. Rugged, it's small enough to disappear into vehicle aesthetics, and it's light enough to go on small drones. Right now, we're partnering with across the entire ecosystem, including space agencies launching ever more sophisticated GNSS satellites, receiver manufacturers busy computing accurate position and navigation and timing from those codes. But key to the success is what customers think, and we're getting a growing recognition by customers that this technology is key to unlocking precision location for the automotive industry.
Indeed, an important enabler for the future there, James. Anastasia, jump on and we'll do this question.
Yeah, actually, very interesting. James, I have a question to you. You mentioned about urban canyons issue and also concerns over jamming. As far as I understand, it stands in the way of autonomous vehicle deployment. So could you please comment a little bit more on that?
Sure. In our antenna, by design, we've aligned the helix of the antenna with the polarization of the satellites. So we automatically receive the primary signal, and any reflected signal where the polarization has changed direction, as it's bounced off the mirror, is rejected, it's ignored. So we have a really high ratio of the good signal to the bad signal. On top of that, rather than having a broad bandwidth, hey, we're listening to anything, we self-filter on those GNSS frequencies. That's all we're listening to, and we're ignoring everything else. So that gets rid of clutter, interference, and jamming as well. And what we're doing is creating that pathway for high signal integrity and enabling that final singular truth of absolute location, actually without the requirement for augmented services.
Okay. Very interesting. Thank you, James. We'll continue those conversations in the networking. And right now it's time to move on to CarFit. So when it comes to maintaining your vehicle, car owners don't always know what they need to keep the car in top shape. Here to help change that, please welcome Nicholas from CarFit. Nicholas, over to you.
Jeremy, as you know, when you own a car, you will receive from time to time some mail or notification that it's time for a maintenance. Usually you will not know when to bring your car for a repair. This is so much 20th century. What should be the 21st century service to our car owners, customers? The information needs to be contextual, individualized, ad hoc, on time. The question is, where is today the auto services in that perspective? Customers want knowledge, transparency, efficiency. Later on, we will want to see self-diagnostic, and when autonomous driving will be there, we will be talking about autonomous maintenance that goes with the future of mobility. I am Nicolas Olivier, co-founder of CarFit, and we developed the easiest, cheapest, simplest way to connect the car and monitor its usage. In fact, we went beyond that. We created a usage-based automotive platform that monitors car usage while respecting fully privacy. No location coordinates involved. This platform helps car owners to obtain a better service while reducing their total cost of ownership, and allows professional auto service and mobility services to provide better services. Our technology combines, on one side, vibration analysis on data science with, on the other side, machine learning to ever optimize accuracy of issues we can detect or understanding of the car usage. We focus on the wearing parts of the driving gears. They are the one with the less sensors currently in the cars. Our team of data scientists and machine learning experts, including my co-founder, Peter, who is an ex-Microsoft, are working hard on this technology. We are building an offer for to bring professional fleet management services to private owner. We call it private fleet. And we are looking for partners to deploy this offering in a B2C to B approach when they are willing to create or activate anti-churn tactics by connecting cars and their customers. They can improve customer loyalty through proactive maintenance and better customer engagement. CarFit removes the blind spot of car usage to provide better service and efficiency to car owners. Thank you.
Excellent. I can imagine. I would love this, and I think my car would love this as well. Why don't you jump on with a question?
Right there. Thank you, Nicholas. I actually would like to understand a little bit more about your customers. You just briefly mentioned that you're into B2B and B2C segment. Could you please tell us more?
Absolutely. So our approach is really B2C to B, meaning that we want to have an attracting offer. So this is our connected tag for cars. You just stick it in your car, and that will bring naturally or efficiently the offer when you need them, because you don't want to receive offers every week. You want to receive offers and service when your car needs it, and you don't always know it. This guy is helping you have the best service at the right time.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nicholas. Thanks, Anastasia. We'll move on to our penultimate pitch now from Kazana. So, as we've heard today, the mobility industry is undergoing a huge transformation. Here to help your business gain a competitive edge by understanding the value and the risk of your vehicle. Please welcome Tom from Kazana.
Hi, Jeremy. Thanks. Data. We're all inundated with data. You've probably got lots of people promising you that data is the new gold, but how do you reach that pot of gold? Most data appears a mess, to be honest. So what typically happens? You're forced to make some key strategic decisions based on your own gut feel. Imagine instead, if you will, a future where you're able to make much more informed decisions based on this data being collected, cleansed, processed, translated in such a way that you and your teams can digest it and truly understand it. Here at Kazana, we're not trying to silence your gut instincts. We're here to supplement them. So how do we do it? How do we help? So one example, we can help you to correctly price a pay-per-mile service. So we plug in alongside connected car data to show in real time how the value of that car changes based on its actual individual usage cycle. Similarly, we could actually help you to correctly spec and price a car for a fast changing market. As you can probably imagine, we're seeing huge and unprecedented volatility in all car retail markets at the moment globally. It's basically a perfect storm. You add on COVID, government rebates, environmental concerns, the goalposts are moving. And we can help you navigate through this and find ways to save considerable marketing budget by getting the right car at the right spec at the right price in the right geography. And finally, we'd also help construct some very competitive finance deals. So using our future valuation model, we can help to demonstrate why, for example, lenders at the moment, they should stop giving electric vehicles such a bad time, because actually EV residuals are very strong. So to conclude, how do we do it? So Kazana are a vehicle data insights company. We have developed a very novel new way to analyze and extract value from billions upon billions of unique historical vehicle advert data points that we've been collecting globally over the last 10 years or so. And our team of data scientists and UX designers then process that to enable our clients to adapt and evolve in this mobility as a service future. And what we're able to do is effectively extract from that a load of opportunities that are unlocked by data, but when that data is captured, curated, and shared in the right way.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Tom, you got to tell me who's that car? Whose is that car in the picture?
Oh, they're all mine, Jeremy. They're all mine. I wish. To be fair, that little one there, that is mine. That's going around Spa.
That is cool.
The rest, I wish. Hi, how you doing?
Hi, Tom. If I may, I have a question. Could you explain us how your offerings map to the needs, mobility needs of OEMs?
Yeah, sure. So for OEMs in particular, I guess there's one example springs to mind right now. Well, a number. I guess the most immediate thing is just how volatile the retail pricing market is for OEMs. You know, it's not a great time, to be honest, to be a dealer in terms of supply and demand and having to stock that. So us having a real-time insight into that world, I think is very useful for OEMs right now, just to keep them through the next 6 months, 12 months sort of thing. Going forwards and pulling out some of the mobility services that you mentioned earlier, Anastasia, I think there's some really key examples where we plug in our valuation data into new mobility services. This gets really, really important, where you might find, so I know, for example, a number of OEMs are doing quite luxury vehicle sort of chauffeur services. So it's almost like Uber on steroids. If you're not careful, if you put too many miles on those cars, the residual values of those cars gets absolutely destroyed. And we are seeing this that, you know, and it's very sensitive. You know, literally, if you add on 10,000 miles too much within year one, you eradicate 20% of the value of that car. You're not going to go and get that back. That is almost certainly the business case destroyed, actually. So it's this very sensitive interplay of usage models, of value, and of actual, you know, plugging those two things together. For me, in OEM world, that's what I would want to have. We're not suggesting that we have all of the answers. You need that connected car and the usage data to be there as well. But if you plug in Kazana, all of a sudden, then you do have the beginnings of a genuine mobility service, in my mind.
Great. Thank you, Tom. We'll continue those conversations right after this. But for now, it's time to jump into our final pitch from Joe. So did you know that there are 220 billion car trips made every year? That's a heck of a lot of CO2 being pumped out. Well, here to make us more sustainable and help us make safer choices, please welcome Joe from Zwings. Joe, welcome to the club. Oh, Joe, that was not a seamless transition. You might need to request in, Joe, and if it's not working, drop it a note in the chat, and we can move on to the final part of the session. Let's see if we can make this work. Give it a few more seconds. Why don't we jump to the Zwings slide, and then if this is not working for Joe, then you can check out a little bit more details about Zwings. Okay, I don't think it's going to work for Joe to join, unfortunately, but I have some good news for you. So now it is time to move to the next part of our agenda. Before we do that, though, Anastasia, do you want to jump back on? I'd love to hear your thoughts on the 5 companies that have pitched and the 6 companies that were meant to pitch. Any thoughts from a Hyundai perspective?
Yes, of course. So from Hyundai perspective, we are watching and monitoring some of the companies, and we're quite interested into identifying the match. What, for example, Kazana was saying is true, but this offering, still there is work to do on mapping into really automotive world. We've seen IOMOB for a while, and it's quite interesting to see the traction. Not all the companies and automotive companies are ready to work with the blockchain, but personally, I'm waiting for this moment when they will become really, really disruptive and necessary to collaborate with. CarFit, again, it's one of the companies that is targeting, and I think it's something that is really refers to the human-centric need and technologies in quite simple way, but with very complicated technology behind. Quite impressive. I've never actually, it's my first time to meet Sai and the skins company. So very interesting, and we would like to stay in touch with them and get to know in the next sessions. So quite impressive combination of the companies. If I didn't mention someone, I didn't mention Helix. Yeah, Helix is quite impressive, and we also have had some discussions earlier, and I hope that wasn't the end of the conversations. Very impressive, and I hope Hyundai is not the only one who's interested in them.
Excellent. That's amazing. Well, look, good to hear there's some potential fits there, and of course, now is a great time to continue those conversations. Anastasia, I think you're going to hang around too, aren't you, for a few minutes of networking as well, if people want to touch base with you and say hi. That will all be happening right after this in the networking bit. Thank you so much for sharing the challenge today, for drilling into the questions, and for giving us a recap, Anastasia. So now it's your turn. What we're going to do now is we'll be heading over to the networking area where you can meet the startups and meet other club members. But before we do that, I just wanted to say a huge thanks to everyone who's engaged with SixSixty over the last few months. It's been an absolute blast. We've loved hosting these sessions. We've already heard of a lot of partnerships that have come out of them as well, which is really exciting. And we're looking forward to continuing the journey again in autumn. It will be the same fast and furious pace, just a little bit more suntanned from my side, and hopefully a little bit sharper on the for the session. So today, as you've heard, is all about the future of mobility. You've just seen 5 interesting startups pitch their big idea, and 6 companies that are absolute game changers. But if you head over to the expo booth, you'll actually find 13 different companies who are bringing innovation to the industry. This is a collection of companies from our friends at Wayra and Digital Catapult who we're partnering with to deliver today's session. So do check them out. And remember, if you want 10 startups of your own, bespoke to your challenge, landing in your inbox in 24 hours, then come and check us out as well at the Go Partner booth. But right now, let's head over to the networking area. You can click on that icon there, share your camera, and you'll have the chance to meet the startups and other club members. It's really fun. It's basically like chat roulette. You'll get moved around every 3 minutes, or you can move faster than that if you want to as well. Click the blue button to connect with people, share your details, and the system will send them your email as well. Well, it's been epic. Thank you so much for joining in. We'll see you in autumn. But until then, stay cool, keep innovating, and wear your mask.